Hi folks, so in my last video that I did, the new moon in Gemini video, I actually made a proposal or an offer to do charts for people, and that got me thinking. It was a spur of the moment thing, and I thought, let me expand on that. As it is, I want to do a few videos that talk about certain astrology fundamentals for people who are following my channel, and I'm going to combine everything into one. Whatever it is that I said in the new moon in Gemini video, and you're welcome to take a look at that, really primarily for the new moon, I wanted to think about it and put the offer out there. But before that, let's get a couple of things. Let me explain a couple of things to folks who are either new to astrology or want to know more about what a birth chart is. From the perspective of where we are at on planet Earth, and when it comes to the birth chart, it is the location of where you are born. From the perspective of, first and foremost, to the ancients, it seemed like all these planets and bodies were revolving around the Earth. The sun looks like it's moving around us, the moon looks like it's moving around us. It is. The other planets look like they're moving around us. We now know that this is not the case. Apart from the moon moving around us, most of the other bodies that are looked at are moving around the sun. But from where we sit, everything is moving around us. And really, that's what a chart is. Your birth chart is a snapshot of where all the planets and bodies that we might look at are at the time and place of your birth. So if you were born at 4 p.m. in Timbuktu, then your birth chart would reflect where the sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, etc., etc., etc. were relative to where you were born in Timbuktu at 4 p.m. So if the sun at that time was behind you, getting ready to set in 4 hours, then that is when it would show up in the chart. From a Western perspective, the chart is shown as a circle, and so you are in the center. So wherever the sun is, the moon is, Mercury, Venus, all the planets are shown as being around you. Now, the zodiac signs, or the constellations that comprise the zodiac signs, look like they're traveling around the Earth as well, on the ecliptic, on a certain path. On the path through wherever it is that the sun travels from where we sit. And not only is every planetary body reflected as being at the appropriate degree relative to where it is you were born and when you were born, every planetary body is also in a zodiac sign. So for someone born today, the sun would be in Gemini. Your moon is in a sign, Mercury is in a sign. Every single planetary body that we're looking at would be in a particular sign. Your sun sign, your moon sign, the sign Mercury is in, Venus is in, etc., etc., etc. Most importantly, as far as the chart is concerned, the chart is divided into 12 houses or 12 sectors. So chart as a circle is divided into 12 sectors, and each of these sectors stands for different things. There's a house for your health. There's a house that stands for you. There's a house that stands for your marriage partner or significant other. There's a house that stands for romance. There's a house that stands for taxes and loans. There's a house that stands for your income. There's a house that stands for your residence. There's a house that stands for your mother, your father, your children, your friends, your colleagues. There are 12 houses, and each of these houses stand for multiple things. And for the chart to have any real meaning as far as a reading is concerned, we really need to know not only what sign of the various planetary bodies in, but what houses they're in. And that tells us what we need to know. In order to know which house something is in, we need to know your birth time. At the time of your birth, astrologers look at the sign, the zodiac sign that's rising in the east at the time of your birth, and that indicates your first house, the house that stands for you. From there, we carve the chart up into 12 segments, slice it up like a cake, and it's 12 houses. Now, there are different methodologies with regard to how it is that houses are cut up, different methodologies regarding how much of each sign goes into which house. I use whole signs, which means that if the sign of Taurus is rising in the east, then the first house comprises all of Taurus. This is the way the ancients did it. This is the way it's still done in Jyotish. This is the only way it makes sense to me. This is the only way I've been able to make sense of a chart. I know that there are other Placidus and Koch especially. There are other house systems, and this is not the place where I'm going to go into an argument of what house system and the zodiac is relevant. But I use, for people who are interested in the way that the charts have made sense to me over time, the tropical zodiac and the whole sign system. I have tried everything else. I have talked to astrologers who use other things, but the most relevant and accurate readings I have encountered have been with this system. My apologies to anyone who uses something different. Irrespective, the bottom line is the sign that is rising in the east is where your ascendant is and indicates your first house, and then the other 12 houses are drawn accordingly. Okay? So that is why when you consult an astrologer, they will typically ask you what day you were born, what time you were born, and where you were born, because that is the information we need in order to construct your birth chart. Now, you can get your birth chart for free. Why am I talking about a birth chart? When I do these videos and I talk about a new moon in Gemini, or a new moon in Taurus, or a full moon in Scorpio, or the eclipses in Cancer and Capricorn, I want you to have something that you can reference so that you know where it is that these events are happening and what houses they're happening in. So if it's a new moon in Gemini, and Gemini comprises your house of friendships, for example, or your house of money, for example, or your house of marriage, for example, you have a sense of what it is to look for. So if I say there's a new moon and subtle and unmistakable new things may happen and look out for them, it narrows it down. It gives you something to say, okay, what is the subject? What am I looking for? And when things come to you, it's like, oh, that's what it is. Subtle and unmistakable. Do you need a birth chart to follow YouTube channels or my channel? No, you can do inspired guesswork. And really, at the end of the day, it's the dates that are interesting, and you're doing this out of interest, you know. He said, watch for May the 11th or May the 16th. Did something happen around that time? He said there'd be a burst of energy or inspiration after the new moon, and it's the start of a new cycle, and new things may come after that. So is that true? You're welcome to try it on that way. But when it becomes that much more meaningful when you do know and understand your chart. You can get your chart for free online. For free online. Astro.com, ASTRO.com is one site that I recommend because it has a host of information. There are others. You can plug in relevant data and you'll get your chart. Now, the chart is going to be shown to you as a circle with symbols on it. So the big challenge that you're going to face is you can go get your chart for free, but what do the circles and those symbols mean? Now, with a certain amount of research online, you can tell and you can see what the different glyphs and symbols mean. There's symbols for all the 12 signs, and there's symbols for all the bodies. And of course, the chart is not going to tell you what each house stands for and what each planet stands for and all that kind of stuff. But you can get your chart. And if you do get your chart somewhere, you know, try when it says what sort of house system do you want to use. If you want to follow my stuff along, choose the whole signs, WHOLE, 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 not HOLE, WHOLE. I realized when I made a circle it could be either. So you know, you can get it online. The offer that I had made, and really it's something, I dislike doing sales pitches on YouTube, but I'm going to make the offer because I think it might be useful, is that for $40 is what I said yesterday, or day before yesterday, or yesterday, or day before yesterday when I did the new one video. I would give you a PowerPoint or Microsoft Word version of your chart that would, in plain English, tell you where all the planets are at, which signs they're in, and which houses they're in. That way, as you follow along my videos, you know where Gemini is and Taurus is and which part of the chart it's in and what other planets are in that part of the chart and what do they stand for. So is it a new moon in Gemini in your first house? Does it stand for you? Is it a new moon in Gemini in your fourth house, which might stand for where you live? Is it in the 10th house, which may talk about your career and calling? Is it in the 11th house of friends? Is it in the 8th house of your partner's money, or all that kind of stuff? And it might be really helpful to have that handy dandy one-page chart to follow along these videos when I talk about the Cancer eclipses and the Capricorn eclipses. It might be an effective guide. I also did say request that you honor that price, but I don't always want price to become a sticking point, especially for something like this. So if you are financially stretched for some reason, either professionally or for other reasons, reach out to me and we can figure out what is going to work or is not going to work. Just, but my email address is there below and you can always check in with me on that. So just know that that offer is out there for $40 or something that is more appropriate to you, but please do use the honor system and honor my time. I can make you or give you or send you a PowerPoint or Microsoft Word version of your chart, which will help you follow along my videos. You can, as I said, get your chart online for free as well. So I hope that this video at least gives you some basic information about what a chart is, what are astrologers looking at. One more thing. So your chart is a snapshot of where everything was at the time of your birth. Now, the planets don't stop and freeze at the time of your birth. They keep moving. So at any given point, for example, Jupiter is currently in Sagittarius. So Jupiter currently is traveling through the sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius could be your second house of income, so Jupiter would be transiting through your second house of income. Now, at the time of your birth, Jupiter could have been in Capricorn. So it'll show as being a fixed point in your chart because that is where Jupiter was at the time of your birth. But Jupiter, since that time, has been moving and moving and moving and moving and moving, roughly 12 to 13 years. It completes one, in the way we see it, one revolution around our planet. It's not really revolving around our planet, but that's what it looks like to us. And so you may have your Jupiter in Sagittarius, Jupiter in whatever I said. You may have Jupiter in Taurus at the time of your birth, but right now Jupiter is in Sagittarius. So when we talk about as astrologers, we can look at various things, and I don't want to get too complicated here, but the most common things we're looking at is where were the planets at the time of your birth, and what do they tell us about your personality and your challenges and your strengths, etc., etc. And then the second thing that we're really looking at, and the primary thing I'm looking at, frankly, is where are the planets right now and what are they affecting? Are you going to relocate or move? What is going on with your career? Where are there new beginnings? Where are there stresses? Where are you being asked to stretch into your potential? Where are there unavoidable changes? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And your chart will tell me that because it's a snapshot of where all the signs and planets were at the time of your birth. And having that orientation helps me understand and helps any astrologer understand where it is that the planets right now are in relationship to your chart, and therefore what influence are they exerting right now. Okay, this is all the information I want you to have for now. My email address is below in the subject line. You're welcome to contact me for any reason, or if you want to avail of the offer I put here. And apart from that, I look forward to doing a few more of these videos to kind of not just cover transits, but some basic astrology fundamentals. Okay, thanks for your time and your attention.